Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, my time. Good morning, good evening, wherever you're joining from. I'll just want a reaction if you can hear me clearly. So please just drop a reaction if you can hear me clearly. And welcome to day three of the Power BI Project Marathon. I can't believe it's been 3 days. First of all, I would like to apologize for how the last session got cut off, day two. Hopefully today we're able to complete it. I would say we've been working on one report, but I'm just glad that we've been doing amazing with just that one. I've been seeing your posts on LinkedIn, on Twitter, tagging me to them about what you've been able to do and what you've been able to accomplish with what we've started doing, and it's so beautiful to see. So if you've posted about this online, please do well to tag me so that I can engage with your post as well. So yeah, welcome to day three of the Power BI bootcamp, and I'm just going to do a brief recap of what we've been trying to do over the past or last weekend. We're trying to sort of build a dashboard that helps a manufacturing company sort of track their defect quantity and their downtime, and the end goal of this report is sort of to help this organization reduce downtime and also save cost. And we are trying to highlight some of the vendors, some categories, and some plants that have that causes the most that has the record for the most defect quantity and also causes the most downtime. So today we're going to be following an entirely different angle. So I will need everybody's assistance to make this Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. I must have turned off my inputs. Please confirm you can hear me now. So I'm sorry about that. I must have turned out of my inputs. So I didn't know that I was not audible. So I was just doing a brief recap of what we've been talking about for the past few weeks. If you can hear me now, please just drop a message in the comment section to confirm you can hear me. So I'm just trying to do a brief recap of what we've been talking about for the past few or last weekend, right? And I mentioned that we've been able to look at the business problem, the objective of what we're trying to do. We've also looked at a brief data cleaning we did on this data set. We did an extensive data modeling where we sort of splitted our tables, and then we loaded this table into Power BI desktop and sort of started creating some DAX formulas. And some of the things we've been able to do so far is we've been able to create some of these measures for our defect quantity, to calculate our downtime hours, downtime cost, and also to calculate the to visualize a trend analysis of both our defect quantity and our downtime hours. And we've also looked at the top three dimensions, right? Like by defect quantity and also by downtime. And we were able to look at by vendor, by category, the top three by vendor, by category, by plant, and also by defect. So today we're going to continue from where we stopped. So what I want us to do right now is to please, we are just 65 on this call, kindly share the link for this call to every other persons that you know that were on the call last week and they are not here, so that they know that the session is live and we can proceed, okay? And so that they know the session is live and we can proceed, because I want us to start almost immediately, so we'll be able to get all of our calculations out and also start designing our reports, right? If we are able to complete this by today, tomorrow we'll start looking at how to document a project like this, which is actually very important. Please, if you cannot hear me, just log out and log back in, okay? I think I'm pretty audible now. So if you can't hear me, just probably refresh your stream so you'll be able to hear me clearly. Okay, good. Now we're going to continue from where we stopped last week, and this is where we stopped, right? So some of the things we want to be able to remember, what we are trying to recreate is the supplier quality and performance dashboard that we had, and I already created a template. Some persons are still asking me where the PBIX for that particular file, where they can copy the DAX, and I already signified that you can see all that on the PBIX template I shared. So I'm just trying to open up the report that we are trying to recreate so that we can just have a look at that again before we proceed, okay? Now, the next thing I want to do on this visual is to sort of create the level of impact, no impact to rejected. Now, if you look at our defect type, we have three defect type: impact, no impact, and rejected. Remember, the first time I looked at this report, this data, when I saw this data, I was sort of worried, or I was like a bit confused that when you say something is no impact, that would mean that that particular data is probably not causing any impact, right? That data is probably not causing any impact. But once I like, it's not causing any downtime. But once I go through my fact table and I sort of looked at that fact table, I realized that even for situation where the defect type ID is 1, which signifies no impact, I have downtime minutes here. Like, there are downtimes causing downtime. So it might be that maybe those downtime were caused by several other factors that were not relating to, like, probably a defected goods. Right, so that is another case, but we want to also sort of like just visualize that to see the ratio of impact to no impact to rejected, okay? Please, once again, if you cannot hear me, just refresh your stream and confirm that every other person in the chat can hear me, and then just refresh your stream. You would be able to hear me. All right, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to create a new set of measures that would calculate our defect, and I will just create an entirely new measure table that is going to store those ones as well. So what I'm just going to do is I'll call this my defects type. So I'll just call this table my defect type measures, and I'm going to load that particular one. Excuse me. Okay, I already have a defect type table. That's why it's adding the 2 in front. I'm going to put this thing here. Okay, beautiful. Now that I have this defect type table, I want to just rename it so I don't want to see the defect type. Let me rename the table. So instead of defect type 2, I'm going to put an underscore in front of defects. Better. Good. Now I'm going to create my measure in this defect, and what I want to just do right now is I want to calculate the total defects, right? The total defects that is of type impact. I'm going to start with my impact defect type, and then I also want to divide that by my total defect. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to create a new measure. One thing I wanted to also, I'm just going to create a new measure here to sort of calculate this. Remember, all these dashes might be difficult to follow through, especially if you're a beginner, but please just try to rewatch the videos, and if you hear of any new concept or any new function, you can always read about that function, or YouTube is such a great place to learn. You can always research about that particular function. So I'm going to call this my impact defect type. Excuse me. And to write this particular DAX, what I'm going to do is to I'm going to store my results in a variable. I'm going to store my results in a variable. So I'm just going to move to a next line, and I'm going to write var, which signifies variable, and I'm going to call this the count of my impact, which is to calculate. What I'm doing is calculating the count of supplier of my defect type, right? So it's going to be the count of my defect type ID, which is actually my defect type. So the count of my defect type ID, comma. Okay, I need to close that bracket first of all. Now I'm going to use a filter for just my where my supplier quality is impact, but this time around I'll be using the keep filters for where the supplier quality, so where my supplier okay, my defects actually. Okay, when my defect type equals to impact, or I can go and look for what the defect type ID for impact is, and I can just put that number in here, right? And then I'm going to close this bracket. That's the first variable I want to write. Now the second variable I want to write, I want to calculate the defects, the total defects I have, which is going to be the count of my supplier quality defects, right? Which is also like similar to the count of my. So I'm just going to do my defects equals to the count of my defect type. So here my defects, count of my defect type using defect type ID. Sorry, it's supposed to be supplier table. So count of my defect type ID. And then I'm going to close that bracket. So what I'm just doing here is I've created a variable that is going to store two calculations. One is the calculation of my impact, which is the first one. The second thing. Okay, so sorry about that. I'm back up now. I realized that it got disconnected at a point, but if you can hear me now, please just confirm you can hear me. Please kindly refresh. I'm actually back up now. And let me know if you can see my screen. Yes. All right. Thank you very much. Apologies for that. So what we've just done here now is to calculate the total. What I've just done here is to calculate the defect type where it is just impact, right? We just try to calculate to find out the ratio of impact to the total defects that would actually have, and I've just brought that result onto a card visual here so that you can see that. So what we're just going to do right now is to copy this that we've written and replace it with, for the like, to calculate for the rest, and we're going to be replacing it. So all I'm going to do here is do Control A and Control C, and then I'm going to do a new measure, right, still in this same table, and then I'm going to do my Control V. Now instead of impact, now I want to calculate for no impact, so I'm going to change this to no impact. I think I have one space here. Okay, good. No impact, and then I'm going to call this one VAR, no impact, and I'll change my divide to no impact. And I also want to rename this. Oh good. I also want to rename this one from impact defect type to no impact. Good. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I can now bring this, if I click on enter, I can bring that one as well and place it on a card visual. So I can do Control C and V, okay, and just change this one to no impact. So I have for no impact, and the same thing we want to do here to change it to percentage. So I'm just going to change select percentage sign over here so I can see it in percentage format. And for the last one, it's going to be the percentage of rejects, right, the rejected ones. And what I'm going to do here is to also create a new measure, and I will be pasting that, and then I will just change everywhere I have that impact, right? So I'm doing Control A and Control V. Oh god, I'm creating it in the wrong place. Okay, let me go back. I don't think I copied. Control A, Control C, and I'm going to do a new measure, and I want to paste this here, and instead of impact, this is going to become reject. I'm also going to change this one to reject. I hope we all understand what I'm trying to do. So I'm just trying to find the ratio of like their percentage this but using DAX rather than calculating it. Now while we're writing most of these DAX is, if this is something you're showing a recruiter, it explains or it shows how vast you can actually write, how vast your DAX skills are. We've also shown how vast our data modeling skills are by performing some data modeling. That is why this is called an end-to-end project. So we didn't just do only like maybe just clean your data and bring it in. We're also writing a lot of calculations to do this. So I'm going to click on enter, and then I would also put that in a new visual. So I'm going to do this as no reject. What did I write? Reject. Okay, I think it's rejected, not rejects. That's why this is returning blank. Good, it's rejected. So you have to check how exactly it is spelled. If not, you're going to you won't see the results. So I'll just put percentage, and we've been able to get these three the three of them, right? And remember, this is what we're trying to recreate. We're just trying to recreate this work that we have here, and we've been able to do the defects, we've been able to do the defects, we've been able to do downtime hours, downtime cost, we've been able to do this visual, we've been able to do all these things you're seeing here, the worst performers, and we've also been able to do this, right? The last thing we want to do is what we have on this place, that is our the showing our downtime hours for each of these defects, right? Or for each of our but just want to show like the distribution in 2018 and 2019 of our defect quantity and our downtime hours. And to achieve this, I'm going to use a multi level row visual to do that. So I'm just going to create a new page here to add those visual. So I'm just on this place. What I'm going to do is I would click on that multi-level row visual. Okay, and then what I want to add on the multi-level row visual is my year and overview. So I'll just come to my date table and pick year, and then I'm picking my overview because I want it to be dynamic. So I'm picking overview, right? So this way I can see the year and the overview. So I'll just come here and bring in that overview slicer as well, so that I already know. Control C, because that slicer is not there, that is why it's showing everything at once here. So I want it to just show only one. So you can see now it's just showing like the total downtime hours alone, and when I select defect quantity, it's showing that. So this thing that we've actually calculated now, we are going to sort of filter it. We're going to add a filter such that we are adding a filter for the defect type. So I'm going to just do defect type, right? I'm going to search for my defect type. This is my defect type here. Yeah, right? So I'm going to bring a filter on here to filter this for each defect type. So this is what I'm trying to achieve, or I want us to achieve. Under this impact, it's just going to show only the number of impacts in this 2018 and this 2019. That is what we are trying to visualize. So I'm going to come here and I would add my defect type to this place, and then I'm going to select for this particular one. I will put call it impact, right? Okay, now what I'm just going to do is this filtering? Okay, I think it is filtering already, this defect quantity. Okay, good, it's filtering. So we're going to copy this and paste it. So Control C and Control V, and this time around I'll change my filter from impact to no impact. Okay, and then I'll do a Control C and Control V for the last one, and I'm going to change my filter from no impact to rejected. So I've been able to get for all these features. Something I can do so that I remember which is for which is I might just copy these three visuals that I have here, right? So I'll just copy these three, Control X, and come here and paste it, so that I just, when I'm trying to bring all of my visuals together, I just know which one is for which one. So I'll just bring this one underneath here. So I just know that, okay, when I want to visualize my impact, it is this and all of that. Even though you can still always check it from your filters, but sometimes I just like to put them together. I don't know why people keep complaining that they are seeing ads, and it's actually funny because my YouTube is not monetized, so you shouldn't be getting those ads. All right, we're going to proceed. The next thing we are going to do is we've been able to get our page 1 sorted out. Right now, let's move to page 2. We're going at a good pace today. So let's move to page 2, which is this page, to calculate an overview or a detailed level page of our vendor performance. And what we want to achieve with this page is we want a situation whereby our stakeholders are coming here, or whoever that is going to be using this report is going to come here and be able to filter this report such that they can, it's very dynamic. They can type 10 and they will see the top 10 customers. They can type 5 top 5 vendors, right? Rather, and they will see the top 5 vendors. They can click on bottom and they will see the bottom 5. They can click on top, they will see the top 5. So that is what we're trying to achieve in this particular place. Okay, and then we're also going to be writing some calculator columns. So we're going to group our defect impact, or the defect. We're going to look at like a correlation between our defect and our downtime, right? So we're looking at the defect impacts on downtime and sort of like group our vendors into some of the vendors that are causing a lot of downtime, and the number of defects, and also see the number of defect quantity associated with those vendors. Okay, So now we're going to go back to our reports that we're working on, and then what I want to do is to go to my page, like create a new page, and I'll start by writing this, writing the DAX, and I'm going to call this, whenever I want to write a new measure, I always like to create a table so that sort of stores all of this measure, right? And I'm going to call this one my rank um, measures table. So I'll go to my enter data, and I'll click on this and do a rank, and I'll call this rank, and I'll click on load. Good. Now I've created that table. I'm going to delete, hide this one. I want this one to be, this is my defect type I created earlier on, to be able to show everything, to be able to show as a measures table. So now I'm going to go ahead and start writing my formula to sort of rank those vendors. And before I do that, I would need to create two things. I need to create my top bottom table, right? That we used to call that those just to call my figures, right, the top and bottom. So I'm going to have to create that, and I also need to create like a top end parameter that is sort of empty that I can always pick. Now to create that, to create my top bottom table, I'm going to use the creating table function, like creating a table function, or creating a table in DAX. So what I'm just going to do is I'll do new table, okay, and this new table I'm going to call it top bottom. And what I want to put in the table is two columns or two values in a column that I'm going to call number 1 is going to be top, and number 2 is going to be bottom. And then I can close this. So this thing that I've done here would create a new table for me called top bottom, which is what you can see in this place here, right? If I try to go there, go to the table, like visualize the table, you see what I have here is two values, top and bottom. That is what I've done. And the second thing is I'm going to create a parameter, and that parameter is what we're going to be using to make our results dynamic. So I'm going to go to my modeling, and where I have this new parameter, I'm going to click on new parameter, and because I want a numeric range, right, I want to be able to impute number from 0 to 100, or depending on how the limits, I'm going to click a numeric range, and then I'll rename this parameter, and I'm just going to call this parameter my top n parameter. And then I'll leave the data type as own number because that is what I want, and then maybe I'll put a default of 10, right? But it's still going to be dynamic, but I'm just going to put a default of 10. I'll leave the maximum at 20, and I'm going to do create a page. Because this add slicer to this page is checked, it's going to automatically create a slicer on this page, which is what you are seeing on top of here, right? Which is what is this? This is my top n parameter. Now the next thing I want to do is to start writing down my rank formula. And my rank formula, what I'm trying to achieve with that is I'm trying to rank my vendor by their downtime hours and by also the defect quantity. I'll do 2. I'll rank them by downtime hours, and I would also rank them by defect quantity. So what I just want to what I'm trying to achieve is I want to see the total, like their total defect quantity. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I want to see them like in maybe ascending order or descending order by their defect quantity. That is what I mean. So this measure that I've already created, or this table I've already created, I'm going to go ahead and do new measure, and I'm going to call this measure. Remember, all the DAX calculations I'm writing here, they are already they're already in the PBIX I shared earlier on. So what I'm going to call this one is my rank I'll just call this rank vendor by defect quantity. So to calculate this, I'm also going to be using my variable function to store some of my distance. So the first variable I'm going to write is I'm going to calculate the top vendor first of all. So I'll just call this one my top vendor defect quantity. So top vendor defect quantity, and this is going to be equals to what I'm going to calculate is I'm going to use a function called rank s, but I'm going to put it in a scope. And the reason why I'm putting it using is in scope function is because I don't want it to return anything outside of this. Okay, let me show an example of what I'm trying to do first of all before I write this DAX calculation here. Or because of time, I'll just write everything at once. So what I'm just trying to do is I'm going to write this. Once I finish writing, I'll probably explain the DAX. I think it's better that way. So I'm going to write a function that says if I'm going to use this in scope, before for my vendor, okay, because that's what I want to picture. And then I can go ahead and now write my rank function. So now what my rank is going to do, or what this rank function is going to do is it's going to rank all my vendors in by their defect quantity in descending order. So I'm using my rank s function and not the rank x. And rank all my vendor, I'm saying rank all my vendor close brackets by defect quantity, so by my total defect quantity, which I've already calculated here and I'm referencing here, but in descending order, and I would close that bracket. And I'll close that bracket. 1, 2, okay, correct. And I'll close the bracket. Now the second variable I'm going to write the same thing, but just this time around. Okay, let me move this a bit so that I have space. Okay, good, better. I think this is better. I just want the DAX to be on the same line. That's what I was trying to achieve. Okay, better. All right, and then I can write the second one, and the second one is going to be for the bottom vendor, like for the bottom vendor by defect quantity. So what I'm going to do is VAR, right? Trust me, you don't need to cram all these DAX. It took practicing before I was able to. At the beginner surface level, you might not be able to understand what even all these function. That's why I said any function I mention, what I want you to do or what you should do, or if I were a student, what I would do is I would go and research about that particular function and see how it is used, what is used for, and some of the there's ChatGPT there to help you, and there's also there are a lot of YouTube videos. Okay, but I'm just telling you how to make your projects look richer, your analysis look richer, so that recruiters can actually look at your work and they're interested in the work and they can see the value or whatever the energy and the time you've put into whatever you've done. So bottom vendor defect quantity equals to, so the same thing, but this time around I'm doing in ascending order. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to copy this DAX I've written here and just paste it here. That is why I like DAX a lot. Most times all you'll be doing, you just be doing copying and pasting and editing some things. So instead of descending order now, it's going to be in ascending order. That is what your bottom defect quantity is going to be. Now that I've gotten my top vendor by defect quantity and my bottom vendor, the next thing I'm going to do is to do the ranking. And for my ranking, what I just want to do is, if the selected value, that means if I'm selecting top right? I want you to return top vendor defect quantity. And if I'm selecting bottom, I want you to return bottom vendor quantity. That is what I'm saying. And then that's what I'm going to do for my ranking. Okay, so for I'm going to create a new variable again that I'm going to call VA. So VAR, I'm going to call this one ranking. So ranking equals to, so I'm just going to take this a bit down, and then what I'm doing is, if my selected value, so I'm going to be using the selected value function. So I'm saying if my selected value of the top bottom, which is that top bottom value that I created, right? If the top bottom value, okay, equals to top, comma, what do I want it to return? I want it to return this top vendor quantity, else it should return my bottom vendor quantity. So else it should return this particular DAX that I actually have here, and I'm going to close that bracket. Now the last thing I want to do is to now show my last result, and my last result is if my ranking, right, is less than or equals to the parameter that I'm choosing, or the parameter I'm choosing, it should now return like that parameter, like the number of defect quantity that fits that particular parameter. So what I'm just doing is I'm doing my return function, meaning like at the end of all these things, I'm going to reference all these values in my this thing. So return if my ranking equals to the top end parameter I created, meaning once I select, what I'm just saying is once I select this, it should just return the number of values for the total defect quantity. So I'm returning my total defect quantity. Good. And I'll click enter. Now I've been able to do rank vendor by defect quantity. Okay, I'm getting an error here. Rank X all vendor comma. Let me see if I log this vendor rank X, this one. Okay. Okay, I know why that's a string error. I'm going to put a space before a comma. I'm going to put 2 comma because I cannot use a special flag. That is why it's creating that error. So I have to put double comma, kind of like a space, so it doesn't throw that error. I'm sure this will work now. Perfect. It works now. Okay, beautiful. So now that I've been able to get this particular vendor by defect quantity, if I bring this particular one to a visual. Say for example, I create excuse me. Before I do that, let's do for the downtime hours as well. So we're going to recreate this, but we're doing it for downtime hours, then we can now visualize. So what I'm just going to do is I'll do Control A, do Control C, and then I'm going to just create a new measure, and then I'll paste this here. And on this new measure, what I want to change is I'm going to be changing everywhere I see defect quantity, I'll replace it with downtime hours. So I'll change this to downtime hours. Excuse me. I'll change this to downtime hours. And I'm going to change this as well to downtime hours. Same thing here, and same thing here. Good. Now, is there anywhere? Okay, this last one. So total downtime hours. Okay, and here as well. So one thing, I can actually change this thing at once, but so we just know what we're doing. Let's just keep doing them one after the other. All right, so this is our ranking our vendor by the total downtime hours, and I'm going to click on OK. Now the next thing I'm going to do is just like how I created a parameter for my overview, because I want it to be dynamic. I'm also going to use these two rank to create I'm going to create two tables before this, or rather I'm going to create like a parameter to add these two fields. So I'll go to my modeling and do a new parameter, and then what I want to do is I'm going to do a fields parameter. Now on this fields parameter, I'm going to call this one just similar to what we did for overview then, right? I'm going to call this a vendor parameter, and what I want to add is those rank that I did in this place, right? So I want to add this rank by defect quantity and rank by downtime hours, and I'm going to do create. So because I also have add slicers checked, it's just going to create that, but I don't want it to show like this rank vendor by defect. I want a different name. So you see this place, this one marked in red, like in the quotation marks, we're going to change it to defect quantity, right? Instead of rank this thing by this, so I'm just going to change it to defect quantity, and I'll change this one to downtime hours. So I'm just removing that rank by in front of it, and I'm clicking on OK. So it's way cleaner like this than having that rank by now. So what I'm going to do is, if I bring in a bar chart now, say I bring in this clustered bar chart that we have here. If I bring in this clustered bar charts that we have here, and I put in our vendor parameter, and I put in the vendor parameter, and I also put in my vendor. So I'm selecting my vendor parameter and my vendor. Okay, this is my vendor here, and I'm selecting the vendor. Good. Oops, it's on the same place. I need to move this one to x-axis. Good, beautiful. So I want to select a particular one, and if I put, nothing is happening because I don't have anything in my top end parameter. So if I put top 10, for example, and I bring in my top parameter as well. Let me say I duplicate this, Control C and V. We're still going to edit all these things, but for now, let's just work on the analysis. Okay, good. And I do a top, and I change this to defect quantity. Good. And I select a top 10, for example. I have here my vendor parameter. Okay. Let's see. Let me make sure something is always selected here. Good. Okay. So vendor and vendor parameter. So I don't know why it's not showing all the values, I want to be sure why that is. What am I showing you? Background setting. Oh, I think I changed something. I want to be sure. Let me check. Okay, I did change it. Boom. Let's find the Okay, so I just want to be sure that this is actually working. Just a second, because the DAX is throwing an error. Top top vendor defect quantity, and this one top vendor. Okay, good. This works fine. Okay, good. And I'll do the second one too. I think, okay, this one is fine. So, beautiful. Okay. This works fine. Top end parameter. So it's not affecting my visual, and I'm just trying to confirm why that is. Top end parameter value. Top end parameter value. Okay. this top environmental value. This is correct. Okay. I want to be sure there's no underlying filter somewhere. So I'm just going to do this on a new page and see what happens. Vendor and vendor parameter. Okay, why is it showing just two values? There's something wrong somewhere. This is on my showing just the top one. Showing top one and the value says top n. Okay. Okay, this is not working. That's why we're getting that error. Okay, what did I not do right in this place? So, top vendor by defect quantity, which is to rank this total defect quantity in descending order. This one to rank the defect quantity in this order. Then if my okay top, which is correct, and then this. Okay, so shouldn't give a wrong answer, but okay, so I'm going to try to figure out why this is giving, like why it's not acting the way it's supposed to act. And then before we move to, let me just be sure if I even wrote the DAX formula correctly. So let me look at this rank vendor. I think it's the same thing. Okay, let me see if it's going to act properly. So I'll just try to test this one to see if it actually ranks properly. Control A, Control V, and let me click on enter. Oh, so there may be something I'm writing wrong because this one works well. I think so. Let me see. I think, okay, it doesn't. I've not even added it. I think it acts well because it's the defect quantity I did. So there might be something in my DAX that I must have missed and it might have been very tiny, right? So sometimes you want to start looking at your DAX line by line. Like we want to start looking at it line by line. So I might have made a mistake when I was writing that DAX, but I was too lazy to sort of figure out where the error. Because you can see that this one is working because it's bringing out a value when I sort of like bring this to my visual. Let me be sure that that's what I'm selecting. Yes, that's what I'm selecting, and it's working. And for my defect downtime hours, I'll probably need to watch this video again to figure out where I made the mistake. But so that we don't waste a lot of time trying to figure, you can see that me too, I'm still learning, and we are like nobody's above mistake. So I don't even know what I missed that it was giving me error, but I'll probably look through it. Okay, I think I know what I missed. Let me see. I think I sort of figure, I know what I missed. So I was using an equals to instead of a less than or equals to sign in this place. So as I said, it must have been something really tiny for me to not be able to this thing. And I'm not very patient, or I wasn't very patient to start looking at where the issue is. And that is where all my problem, or that was the genesis of all my problem, and this is working well because if I sort this now by downtime hours, it should show me like the top 10, right? If I sort this, it should show me the top 10. So now if I bring this to a visual, now that we have this, if I bring my vendor parameter and place it here, okay, still not acting correctly, but my rank vendor is working. So let me just be sure. Let's be sure that we're copying the correct thing for our vendor parameter. So rank vendor by defect quantity, that is what it's called here. Let me see, rank vendor by defect quantity, rank vendor by downtime hours. Good. Okay, I know why. Vendor parameter. So I'm going to check the vendor parameter, and then I'm going to select a value here set at 0. That is why probably was not return anything there. Good, it works perfectly well. So thank you for learning with me, and thank you for teaching me too. So now you can see that this is actually very dynamic, right? If I click on bottom now, it's going to show me the bottom 6. If I click on downtime hours, it's going to show me. So this is now very dynamic, and this actually worked very well. Okay. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do now is we've been able to do this part of our analysis, right? So what we're going to do right now is to actually do to categorize, to figure out the correlation between the defect and the downtime, and also sort of categorize this by our by the kind of vendor. So want to group or want to categorize our vendor based on like if they are high risk, medium risk, or they are also low risk. So what I'm just going to do is, in that same my rank, I'm going to create a new measure to do this categorization. Okay, so in this place I'm just going to do a new measure. Okay, sorry, I'm still on this. So I'm just going to do a new measure, staying on my rank table actually, but staying on my rank table, and I'm going to do a new measure that I'm going to call risk category. Mind you, when you're building your own dashboard or working on your own project, it might be like you might not be following the same process that I'm following. The only reason why I'm doing this is because I've worked on this project before, and I'm trying to recreate what I've done and also teach you like how you can sort of approach your this thing. In some cases, I'll tell you that I spent time sort of like exploring this data and just looking at, okay, maybe if they are interesting patterns, right, in like the numbers I see. For example, why I decided to group this on low risk, high risk, and medium risk is after looking at the defect quantity, or after looking at their maybe the downtime. I just sort of like filtered the my downtime quantity rather, to based on like some values that I actually see in my data, right? Based on the values I'm seeing, I've already looked at the distribution between my downtime hours, and I'm categorizing them based on the downtime that they are causing, right? And what I'm going to do to create this thing is, I'm going to write a couple of measures, or I'm going to be using my variable functions to write this, and I'm going to call this risk category. And first thing I'm doing here is creating a variable that is going to call the current vendor. I hope we are all following. Please, if you are lost, you can just watch the video. We don't have enough time, and I'm just trying to sort of brisk through the entire project so we have something at the end of the day. The rest, we can always get a recording for that, but this one is very important. So I'm just going to write a DAX that's sort of like, okay, when I'm selecting a particular vendor, right? So I'm creating this, that's my vendor. So when a vendor is selected, good. And then I'm creating another variable that is going to calculate the total. So I'm just trying to sort of like override some of the filter context that might be happening. You can browse or you can research what filter context is. Okay, I think at this point in time we're already on the 2nd hour mark. Maybe I should give a 2 minutes break so everybody can take water and just stretch their legs. So just 2 minutes break. By 15:10 we continue, and while we're taking that break, I should just mention that a lot of us, the idea behind the Power BI project marathon is to get people to do projects that are beyond the regular, right? What do I mean beyond the regular? I mentioned something when we started this, that most times we tell you, or people tell you to do projects that have business value, and somebody will do a project, and what you just see all around the project is maybe just, oh, my total sales, top 5 this, top 5, like there's totally no context. I'm not saying that is bad, don't quote me wrongly, right? But I'm just saying, if you want to, there's something I always tell my sister, I always tell my mentees actually, that if you want to do something, you want to put your best foot forward. And if your goal is to actually get your project or be in front of recruiters, or you want to be like the best version of yourself, you want to be extraordinary, you want to do things extraordinarily, and you don't want to just do the basics. I'm sure a lot of people are hearing most of the concepts I've mentioned in this class for the very first time. Like maybe some people have never heard of data modeling in Power BI before. I saw a lot of the feedbacks, and somebody was like, I didn't know that data modeling, that like there was something like data modeling in Power BI. So it's very important you learn all these concepts. And like I mentioned, these are things you will not learn in tutorial. I don't want to just teach you. I could have easily just recorded a video and put it there, but I'll be doing the same thing that I say, okay, I don't want you, but there are a lot of end-to-end Power BI projects. But I wanted to do a live stream where I can sort of teach you like why we are doing some things, why some things are there and why we're doing those things. Okay, so that is why we're doing this, and I'm sure everybody should be back by now, so we can just continue the class. So if you're back, just drop a thumbs up or a reaction so I know we're back. And I don't know if anybody left, but just drop a reaction so we can continue. Someone says they are not back. Okay, one more minute by 3:12. Okay, so everybody should be back by now, and we're just going to continue, right? So, before we continue, I just wanted to mention, if you've not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please subscribe, and please just try to drop a like on my videos. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to continue with what we're trying to create, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to categorize our vendors, right, based on their total downtimes, and that is where we actually stop. So what I'm going to do now, I've created the first variable, which is just trying to so when a vendor is selected, or to pick a particular vendor, so I'm going to do a calculate function right now. Okay, I'm going to call this I want to calculate the total downtime hours per vendor. That is what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to calculate my total downtime hours, comma, because I've written it, I'm just referencing it here, and I'll filter for where my vendor type. So from my vendor table, oops, comma, I'm filtering for where the vendor equals to current vendor, which I've already referenced, or I've created here as or as a variable in this particular this thing, and I'm going to close this. Good. And then the next thing I want to return, or what I want to return, is if the total downtime for that particular vendor is greater than 800, I want it to return high risk. So I'm doing a return function such that if the total downtime hours is less than 800, I want you to return high risk. I'm calling another if function if the total downtime hours is less than or equal to, okay, sorry, this is supposed to be if it's okay, if it's greater than 800, high risk. If it's less than, Now I think maybe I should show you something after creating this thing, but let me just write this down first. So if it's less than or equal to 800, and in Power BI to write, and we use this double ampersand. So I'm going to call my total downtime hours again, and my total downtime hours is greater than or equals to 400. When you're calling greater than or equals to, it's just the greater than and equals to sign. And then if it's greater than or equals to 400, comma, medium risk, that's what I'm calling it. So medium risk, that is a medium risk vendor. And if it doesn't suffice for any of this, I'm just going to call this a low risk vendor. And then I'm going to close this bracket. I think it's too good. Now let's do something. Let's pick a vendor. I'm going to just go to this next page here. I have vendor here already. I will delete all these other things here. So let me bring my total downtime hours on this place. I think this is it's good. Now if you look at my total, and I'll sort this in descending, good. Now if you look at the distribution of my total downtime hours, you see that the maximum is like 1164 and the minimum is like, let's see, what's the minimum, 239, right? So what I'm just trying to do with these DAX that we've written here is to sort of say that if this particular vendor, like that is the selected vendor, which is let me say for example this is tag feed. If tag feed, for example, the total downtime hours for tag feed is greater than 800, I want you to return high risk. If the total downtime hours for tag feed is less than or equals to 800, I want you to return this. And if it's less than or equals to 800 and also greater than or equals to 400, I want you to return this particular thing, medium risk, else just return low risk. Now, if we bring that risk category we created and put it here, you can see now for vendors that have low downtime hours, what is it showing for them, for their category? It's showing low risk, right? For others that are showing this thing, it's showing let me see, let me sort it. It's showing high risk, right? Now this is what this is why I like to put that if it's in scope, right? So that to avoid this result, because why is high risk showing here? But anyways, we understand the drill. That is what we've done here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do that scatter chart that shows the correlation between defect type and downtime, and then we're going to also group defect quantity rather and downtime, and then we're now going to group the results or filter the result based on their risk category. So for example, if I bring in this scatter chart, this is my scatter chart here on row 3. If I bring the scatter chart, and on my scatter chart I select my vendor, right, which is what I want to visualize. Vendor should be on my values, because that is what I want to see. Okay, vendor. This is vendor here. Okay, good. Now I have my vendors and I'm doing my what do I want to see? I want to see the total defect quantity, and I'm trying to check the correlation between, when you use scatter chart, you're just trying to check the correlation between two figures, right? So I'm trying to check the correlation between my total defect quantity, and I want to see my total defect quantity on the x-axis. So I'll just go to my defect quantity and select total defect quantity, and then on my downtime I'm going to go there and select my total downtime hours as my this thing. Beautiful. Now I have this thing. Just looking at this particular thing, right, you already say, oh, it's a positive correlation, but do you know if it's actually the same thing for this? And now to see this clearly, it will be great to just like sort of like divide them. Let me delete this one that I have here. Sort of like split them, right, such that you are seeing for medium risk, low risk, and this. So I'm just going to copy this three times, right? Like just have three different charts here that shows those things. Now in this one, I'm going to filter this. I'll add a filter to this one for high risk. How am I going to do that? I'll just carry this my risk category and place it on the filters on this visual, right? And what do I want to put in this place? I'm going to put is, right? Show items when value is what? High risk. And I'll do apply filter. You can see it's now like the correlation is even more clearer, and you can see that it's not the same case for every vendor. You can see that there are some vendors with very high defect quantity, but they have low downtime, right? And there are also some that like it's the greater the defect quantity, the greater the downtime. But there are also scenarios where you can see the defect quantity is very large. Take for example this iron bull that has 10 million defect quantity, the downtime is just 803. Meanwhile, there are people that have less defect quantity. Say for example, let me use this one, this AMB, right? That's just 7 million defect quantity, but the downtime is actually 955, which is way high, right? You can see that there are other stories that the data is actually telling. So over here, okay, maybe I should have done the filter. Let me remove this. Maybe I should have done the filter before pasting, so I don't need to drag and drop it again. So good. Now I'm just going to change all the filters I have here. This one now, I'll put medium risk. So instead of high risk here, I want to change this filter to medium risk. So I'm just going to change medium risk, and I'll click on apply filter. And then I'll do the same thing for this one. Instead of high risk, we're calling this one low risk. Now we've been able to see the differences, right? Like you can see how like this one now has, there's no even, you can't even tell if there's a correlation or there's no, it's just like the data is just sparse, or what English am I going to use here? It's not actually showing you that maybe, okay, the more defect quantity, the more this, the more like, right? So this is one way to also see, like group your data like in smaller bits such that you can see this thing. Trust me, most of the DAX we are writing in this class are things you can replicate and put even in your real world case scenarios, right? Like if you're already working as a data analyst, somebody told me that they were able to learn month over month from this session, and they've been able to apply that to their real world or some in their place of work, right? So it's actually beautiful that you get to learn new stuff and how to actually approach your project in a different way. Now that we've looked at how to create this, one last thing we're going to create here is we're going to create a matrix visual that also shows us the level of impact to no impact to rejected by our vendors. Okay, so we want to see the level of no impact to impact by our vendors. And once we are doing this as well, we also want to like sort of like add we're going to, in this case we're going to be using our overview parameter that has that defect quantity and defect, so that we can be able to see, like if we want to, in case we want to filter by defect quantity, we want to filter by downtime hours, we can see that. And what I'm just going to do here is I'll select a matrix visual. Okay, so once I select a matrix visual, I'm just going to go ahead and select my vendor, which is the first thing here. I'll select my vendor, and then I'm going to go ahead and select the defect type, which is that, excuse me, which is the impact, no impact, whatever that we add here, right? You can see it here, impact, no impact, and this. But we also need to put values here, and the values I want to use are my defect quantity and downtime hours. And I already created a parameter for that, which is actually in my overview parameter, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and click on that overview parameter, such that the reason why I'm doing this now, because the filter is not on this table, that is why it's not working. If I bring in the slicer, I think I have that slicer on this page here. Yes, good. So I'm just going to Control C, and I'll come and paste it here. So you can see now it's showing total defect quantity, total downtime for impact. So if I put that slicer here and you can see now it's showing me just for total downtime hours, and if I select total defect quantity, it's going to show me for total defect quantity. So I'm going to format this report later. I just want us to be very, very fast because I want us to start looking at how to when it comes to designing our visualizations in a way that is very easy, because that also, it's also very, very important. Beautiful. Now we've been able to create our do our analysis for 2 different pages, and we're going to move to page 3. And on page 3, what do we have there? We have information about our plant. So if I go to our plant, we can see that we just have the same thing that we did for our vendor, right? So we're going to do the same thing here, the same thing here, but for plants. So we're just recreating that page. The only thing different, I think, is this plant location by defect quantity that we have here, and a tooltip that we actually have here. So that is the only difference. Okay, so I'm going to this thing. Please, if you have questions, don't worry, I'm going to take your questions. But probably after the session or on the WhatsApp group, we're going to take a lot of questions. Before the end of the session, I'll drop the link to the WhatsApp group again, because I know a couple of persons have been asking for that. Also, I'll be dropping a feedback form by the end of today's session. Please kindly fill the feedback form, because it would help me to prepare when I have sessions like this again in the future. All right. Next thing we're going to do is start with the next like our page 5, right, which is our plant information. So what did we do? Yeah, we actually created parameters. We already have our top end parameter. We don't need to create top end parameter again. We already have this top and bottom parameter. We don't need to go. We're going to create a parameter for vendor, and before we do that, we need to create that rank calculation that we did before, right? So what I'm going to do is, instead of copying from scratch again or writing from scratch again, I'm just going to copy it and change everything that is vendor to plant. So what I'm doing is, where I have this rank vendor by defect quantity, I'm going to Control A, Control C. I'll do a new measure, and then I'll do a Control V, and I'm going to call this a plant by defect quantity. Okay, good. Now what else do I want to see? I want to change this vendor to plant, right? So I'm going to, everywhere that is vendor, I'm basically changing it to plant, and I want to do all of them across at once. I don't want to do it one after the other. So what I'm just going to do is, I'll do my Control Shift L, okay, to highlight everything, and I'll do Control H, and what I'm just going to do is, okay, I should have copied the plant location first of all, because I will not be able, IntelliSense might not come up, but it's good. I think I can still do that. Oops. Okay, I'll change for 1 first of all and copy it. So I will just be able to replace. So I want to do this for plant location, right? So I'm just going to copy this. Control C. Bracket should be here. Good. So I'm going to highlight everything that has vendor by doing Control Shift L, Control H, and then I will remove that and just do Control V, and I will immediately have changed all 3 at once rather than changing them one after the other. And for this place I have this vendor, I'm also going to highlight this and do Control Shift L, right? So everywhere that has vendor is highlighted, and I'm just going to remove that and I'll change it to plants, and immediately I've done everything at the same time. I think the last one, okay, this one is total defect quantity. I don't think there's anything. I've been able to change everything, so we have been able to change all our defect quantity. Now this is now rank plants by defect quantity. We're going to do the same thing for our downtime hours. We're going to do the same thing for our downtime hours. So I'm just going to copy this one, Control A, Control C, and I'll do a new measure. And I'm going to paste the new measure here. So this time around, what I want to do is downtime hours, right? So I'll just rename this one to downtime hours. And I want to change my total defect quantity to total downtime hours. So this, right? So I'm going to just copy that. Oops, I didn't copy the S. Control C, and then what I'm just going to do is I will highlight everywhere I have this total defect quantity that I want to change by doing Control Shift and L, and I'm going to do Control H. I'm going to do Control H, and then I'm going to do Control V, which is total downtime hours. Right, so I've pasted that, and then I need to also change this defect quantity that I have here, and I will just highlight all of them by doing the same thing, Control Shift and L, Control H, and I'm just going to type my downtime hours. So instead of having to type all of them one by one, you can just make use of these shortcuts. Okay, good. And then I can click on my enter. So now that I've created this rank plant, I'm now going to do a plant parameter. So just like how I created this vendor parameter, I'll do the same thing for plant. I'll go to my modeling view, do a new parameter, and my parameter is going to be a field parameter, okay? And then what I'm going to call this is a plant parameter, and then I want to call this my defect. I'm going to put in my rank plants by defect quantity and my rank plant by downtime hours, and I'm going to do a create. Now once I do that, because I don't want this to be showing rank plants by as well, I'm just going to remove this and edit this properly. Quantity, and then this one can show as downtime hours. Good. Now something I can do is I'm just going to copy everything I have here. Control A, Control C, or maybe duplicate this table. Well, I've already copied, so let me just do. So I'm just copying it and putting it on a new table. I'll delete vendor parameter because that's not what I need. But before that, I can just format the painter and put on this one so that it's showing as the same thing. Remove, and then instead of vendor now, I want to show plant. So I'm going to come here and select plant location. Good. Now I can see the plant location. I also need to change this parameter here from vendor parameter to plant parameter. Now I can see the top 6 plant location by downtime, bottom 6 plant location by downtime hours, and top. If I click on top, it shows me the top by this thing. So I've been able to do the top of my this. I still need to change this to a bar chart, but we can also do that. Now for the next thing we're going to do is this same calculation we did here, right? This matrix, we're going to do the same thing, but this time around for plant. So I'm just going to copy this and do my control, copy this, right? Do Control C and just bring it to this page here that contains information about my plants. And then instead of vendor here, what I want to see is plant. So I'll select it and I'll change my vendor to my plant location. Beautiful. Now I have this for plant. And the last thing is this map visual that we have in this place here, right? That is the last thing we're going to add for this particular page. So I'm just going to bring in a map visual here, right? And once I bring in that map visual, okay, I think I was selecting one of my Control Z. My cursor was on this. So I'm going to bring in that map visual. Let me just move this a bit up. I can always arrange everything later, actually. So for that map visual, what I want to actually do is to add my plant location and my plant parameter, but we are still going to build a tooltip page, because if you look at this now, right, if you over on this particular, over on a location, it shows you further information about that location, like, oh, there's something wrong there. It shows you further information about that location, like the downtime hours, defects, the downtime cost, and also like a monthly trend, right? So we're going to create that particular tooltip, which is what I actually have in this particular place. So we're going to have to create this sort of tooltip for our this thing. You can see we've done a lot of things in this. Like there's nothing you're entering a like if you are taking this project into like an interview and they're asking you, oh, have you worked with this? That you will not answer. Oh, can you do a top end analysis? Yes, I can do that. Oh, can you do this? I can do that. Can you do data modeling? Like you're already checking all the boxes. Now, if you create this tooltip, they're asking you to, can you do tooltip? You can always answer that yes to that particular question. So let's just get the location first of all. We're going to add the tooltip. It's going to be like the last thing. I want to make sure that at least I have the dashboard before we can start considering like creating that tooltip. Okay, good. Now for our location, what we're going to add is our plant location and then our plant parameter. That is what we are adding. Okay, so plant location is showing as a this thing. Then my plant parameter is supposed to be the legend. Oh, good. What am I doing? Okay, good. Okay, so I need to check if my data category is actually as a location, right? So if you look at that data, I think that particular data is actually a city. If you try to look at the variable, because I think that is why this is not coming up as a value. I'm trying to look at what I've not added here. It's not showing. Okay, I need to add the bubble size, I think. Right there, longitude. I was using a different map. Okay, I've been able to add the this thing. So I need to add the plant location or the plant rather the plant parameter as the bubble size, so that the higher the defect quantity, the higher the larger the bubble, right? For example, because I'm selecting top 6, it's only showing me 6 bubbles on this place to just visualize like the 6 bubbles in that particular location. If I increase the number, it shows me like different more distance. So now for this plant location, I can see the downtime hours, and if I decide to change it to show by defect quantity, it's also going to do that as well. So I've been able to create this, and like I said, we're still going to edit all these things, but this is like the back end of your report, all the nonsense you do before you finally have a beautiful visualization to show people. Now we're going to move to, before we do the tooltip, like I said, it's going to be among the last things we're going to do. Let's move to I'm trying to see how we can cover a lot so that I'll be able to take a lot of questions by tomorrow's own session. So today we're going to do the material page next, right? And for the material page, we just have very simple bar charts. There's nothing like extraordinary on. There's nothing extraordinary on the material page. So just simple bar charts. Like for example, we're visualizing the downtime hours by or the material type by downtime hours, because I think we have only, I don't know how many material types we have, but I'm just going to visualize that. So I'm going to select material type, and I'm going to use, I want that page to be dynamic so that I can also see for defect quantity, and I can also see for downtime hours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select overview. And once I select overview, I'm going to move it from material from legend. Good. Now I need to also bring in that slicer so that it reflects here. Control V, and then I'm selecting. Okay, good, it has reflected already. Now another thing we want to do is to calculate like downtime hours by defects, by the kind of defect associated with that material, right? So something we can do here is to do a, so I'm just practically, what I did on this page is to practically all the other dimensions that I've not looked at, I try to sort of like find a way to group them or relate them to each other in this place. So I, what you can do, what we're going to do is I'm just going to do a Control C and Control V, and instead of material type here, I'm changing this to, so I'm going to remove this and I'll change this to defect, which is this. Good. Now the last thing, or maybe not the last thing, I can also do the by category. So instead of defects, I'm just showing by category. And then one thing I noticed here was, after looking at the different categories that we had, I decided to sort of look at a trend of their defect quantity and their downtime. And I noticed that for your for some certain categories, there was like a little bit of difference, or there was a trend in them. So what I did was I decided to visualize that in a line chart. And to do that, I just had to select a line chart. Remember, when you're showing time series analysis, you always have to use a line chart. And then what I just did was put in my month name, and in this case I'll use the month name short that I already have here instead of the long one, because I don't have a lot of space. And I'm going to put in my overview as well, because I want it to be dynamic. Good. Now the next thing I want to do, I don't want to see the entire, I want to put in a like I want to visualize, put in my category as a legend, because I'm trying to visualize for my category. So I'm going to select category. Now you can see it's showing you all the different this thing. This is very scattered, like this is a very dirty, like it's not something I want to have in my this thing, but we're going to format this in a way that looks presentable. Now if you look at what is going on here, you will notice that this last one, which is what mechanicals, sort of has a very like increasing trend, right? It's increasing gradually, like that means there's a problem with that category. So there needs to be like something done about it, right? And if you look also at logistics, logistics is also another category that is gradually becoming a problem, right? It's gradually just going up like above others. So I think these two categories are something that can sort of like be drawn, like you can draw attention to, or draw the managers or whoever that is going to be looking at that report their attention to. So that is why I decided to do this. So when you're doing your analysis, don't just stop at, oh, you're answering question. Try to look at something that, oh, let me even visualize this thing and see what happens. And if the data looks interesting, you add it to your report. That is the essence of trying to do visualization. And I think that is that for our material page. And then for the last one, before we now go into report design, right, is we're going to do what we call a downtime impact. And for this particular page, maybe I should show the page so that we can look at what I try to do in that place. Good. Now for this particular page, what I try to do, or what I want us to achieve, is to look at like the cost, how much is costing, like the impact of downtime on like the revenue, right? Or like on like how much we are losing per hour. How much we are losing per hour because of our downtime costs, right? That is what I wanted us to look here. And what we're doing is in January, like we know the particular period where there's a problem. In October's, like every Tuesday, there's always like a problem. Meaning like the entirety of our Tuesdays, there was problem in downtime. So it's something that you might want to call their attention to. That in October, we had something crazy. As in something we might want to do to this is also like do a filter where we filter, like check it by year and see if it's the same thing that happened in the previous year and the current year. That is something. And also, I also try to look at like, okay, the total amount for January, which is this 176, the total amount for February 158, and like that. So I just created a bar chart and a matrix visual to show this and sort of grouped them together, right? And for the last one, it was part of our questions, right? They asked us to do a vendor plant combination to see if there's a problem somewhere, and do a vendor material combination to also see like if there's a problem somewhere, right? And which is what we're trying to do in this, which we are going to try to do now. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to create an additional page and bring in my matrix visual. Now for my matrix visual, what I want to add is my month and my day. So first of all, month is going to be on my my month is going to be, it's going to be on the rows, right? Not my column. Okay, this is a table. So my month is going to be a not month number. I want month name. So I'm going to change this to month name. And then I want to bring in the day of the week. I don't think I have that here. So day of the week name and not the day of the week number. Beautiful. Now this is it. But because it's not sorted, I want it to be sorted. I will go back to my table and go back to my date table now. So I want to go to my date table, and then I'm going to click on my day of the week, and I'll sort this my day of the week number, which is this. So I'm sorting my day of the week name by day of the week so that it's sorted in chronological order. So now I have Sunday, which is the first day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which is properly sorted. Now the next thing I want to do is to bring in my values, and the values I want to have there, I want to display is the downtime costs, which is this. Okay, this is downtime cost same period last year. Okay, good. This is my downtime cost per hour, and I don't want all these 0.333 whatever that is showing here. So I'm going to abbreviate this such that it just shows 2. Good. This is better. 2 decimal places is better. Now the next thing I want to do here is, okay, I would have to turn off the total later on when I'm editing, but this is not. I'm going to bring a bar chart, and on my bar chart, what I want to have there is just the month name and downtime cost. So I'm going to bring in a bar chart, or I can just do Ctrl C and V here and change this to a bar chart, but I'm going to remove day of the week. Good. Now I have this. So something I can do here is I'm going to turn off this particular thing, but that will be when I'm editing or when I'm formatting. I don't want to have, do any formatting now, so that I have my original page and I know how I want to place all of this together. And the last thing we are going to do here is we want to do our vendor plans combination, right? Which is just us creating a table that contains all those like all the information like vendor, the plant, then defect quantity, downtime hours, and downtime cost by those particular combination. So I'm just going to stay here, bring in my table visual. And then on my table visual, the first one is the vendor plant analysis. In case you're wondering why I'm doing that, look at it. Which vendor and stroke plants are causing? Is there a particular combination of vendor and plants that performs poorly? Is there a combination of material and vendor that perform? That is why we're doing that analysis. If you look at this particular thing, we've been able to answer all the questions here and even extra things, right? So that is what we're trying to answer on the last, in case somebody asks that, oh, we're not following or we didn't answer the question that he asked us. That is what we want to do for the last one, which is vendor. I'm going to select my vendor. I'm going to select plant. I'm going to select defect quantity. And I'm going to select downtime hours. Oh, okay, defect quantity, total downtime hours. And then I can also select the downtime costs so that we know how much we are losing based on the defect and the distance. So I can see that this particular, okay, this one is downtime cost same period last year. Oops, let me, downtime costs, that's what, good. Now you can see clearly that this particular vendor and this particular plant location, they are the one that's causing us to lose the most money. So we probably want to check like this vendor and this plant location, what is actually happening, right, in this particular place. So I'm just going to do a control C and V, and I'll change the plant to material for the next step. So control C, control V, and then instead of vendor and plant location, I want to change my plant location. I'll delete that and I'll put material type. So I just want to move this to be in the middle here. Good. Now I can see my vendor and this, and if I sort this one, I will see the vendor and the material type that is causing us the most issue. In fact, this vendor feed, okay, this one is feed fish. Okay, feed fire is actually a problem, and you can see there are a lot of raw materials. There are a lot of issue with the raw materials that we are actually collecting. Beautiful. Now we've been able to do all the information we need to see on our page. So one last thing, we can try to recreate create that tooltip page now. And to create tooltip page, I'm just going to come here and go to page, and I'm going to do my canvas settings and sort of like just change this to a tooltip. Good. I can also increase the size. Okay, maybe instead of doing this, let me do custom. um I can call, maybe I can put 370 by, I know there's a custom I use. I don't know if I'm getting the number correctly, but 360 by 450. Good. Let me see. I think this should be okay. And then I'm just going to go to my page information and rename this to be plant tooltip. And then I'll do allow users tooltip checked. Okay, it's already on. Good. Now the next thing I want to do is to add like some of my visuals. So I'll bring in a card visual. Yeah, and I'll just make this very small over here. I can always increase the size, anyway. Control C and Control V. Let me see if then Control C and Control V. So on this place I'll put in note. I can always edit this if it's not okay. So I'm going to put in my defect quantity, those total defect quantity. I'll put that here. This one is before previous month. Okay, good. I would always edit this later. We'll do our formatting later. Let's get all the visuals because formatting takes a lot of time. That's why I want us to get all our visuals out first. Then total downtime hours. Then I can now have like downtime, maybe costs per hour. So downtime costs. Okay, good. Now I can also bring in that same visual I have on my first page. But this time around, I just want the revenue, like something similar, right? So I'll bring a line visual, put it here. And on this line visual, because this is going to be for my plants page, right? I'm going to use my plants parameter, right? Because I want it to also be dynamic. My plants parameter and the month. So I'll click on check the box for my plants parameter. And then I would also change this to months, maybe short month name instead of the long one. So month name short. Why am I not seeing anything? Oh. Good. Why is it showing as a bar? Oh. Month name short. Better. Good. Now this would actually change. I want to also put a legend. This defect quantity will actually change when we place it on that particular page, because it's going to be using a tooltip, right? That sort of like changes based on if it's defect quantity that is showing or not. So I'm going to add a legend to this visual. Yeah. Okay, I know why this is not showing yet, because of the other one. Okay, I'll come back to this anyways. I'm going to add the last two things that I want to add here. Another thing I want them to see is just for that plant location by vendor and by material. So I'll create like two bar charts. Let me create the first one. And this first one is going to just show like the plant parameter by the vendor, and the second one is going to be plant parameter by material. So on here I'm going to put a plant parameter, and I'm also going to put a vendor. Good. Okay, beautiful. So this would actually change, but I don't want to. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing and just do Control C and V, but this time around it's going to be for material type. Maybe I need to increase the size of my tooltip, or maybe reduce the size of some of the wordings. But when I'm editing, I'll do that. But I just want to make sure that I've put on my charts. Now we have successfully created all the charts we need for our analysis. It's now time for another round of work. And the other round of work that we need to do now is to do report design. Now, this is where a lot of people actually, some people do have a very beautiful analysis and they are able to analyze their data properly, but not everybody actually knows how to design their report in a way that when somebody looks at it, they are intrigued and they are excited about your analysis and the work that you've actually done, which is what we're going to look at now. So we want to convert all this, and we're going to do that in the next 2 minutes. So it's break time. Let's take a 2 minutes break. You can stretch your legs, drink water, and by the time we come back, we would start designing our reports. Thankfully, we'll be able to finish this today. So I'm sure everybody is back by now. Welcome back from the break. Like I mentioned, there will be a time for questions. Hopefully, I can set out a major part of tomorrow to take questions, and maybe it's not even a YouTube live stream. Maybe even it might even be a very interactive session where we get to, so I can hear people's voice as well. As long as we're able to complete today's session today. Now, when it comes to report design, right, there are some people that are design intuitive, right? What does this mean by design? Like, some people are very good with design, then they just have this, like, they can combine colors. Let's take for example, there are some persons that will go to their wardrobe, and when they want to pick clothes, you don't see them like, oh, I want to wear this coffee brown, or I want to wear this milk color, it will go well with this. Like, they have that color and design intuition. Okay, they have that design intuition, which is actually like a very very good thing and an advantage, especially when you are doing when you're in a space or you're pursuing a career like tech. I need to confirm that everybody can still hear me. I really hope so. But when you're doing a career like data analytics or UI UX design, this can come in really handy, right? But there are some people that you know nothing about design. In fact, when you see, in fact, the design part of analytics or analysis of your analysis gets you scared. Like, if you don't want to make the wrong decision. Now, here's my advice: if you belong to category B, it's very very important you always play it safe. Don't overdo. If anybody that is doing, I know everybody wants to be out to Power BI, that's buzz, or everyone wants to be like, everyone wants to be the design guru or the expert, and you want people to like come to your dashboard and say, oh wow, look at this. But you also don't want people to come to your dashboard and run away because they are scared of the colors that are looking at them or the design looking at them in the face. Okay, so you want to be very, very, very careful. Now, here's my advice: if you belong to category B, please just play it simple. Stick to 1, 2 colors. It's always safe. I tell my people it's always safe to use white. Even myself, I don't think I've ever used a background that is not white. I get really scared because I don't know how maybe another color will sit on a dark color. It's very difficult to play around. When you see somebody that gives you a dashboard that it's a dark background and you can still read the wordings properly and see everything, that means the person must be really good at design. Okay, so you want to play it safe by using a white background. It's the safest when you are doing your design. Next thing, you want to pick 2 colors, at least 2 or maybe even 1. Then pick any color that sort of contrasts with that color, or like as like a divergent of that color. And I'll be sharing probably I will have to share the resources, but I'll be talking about some of the couple of sites I use. I'll just be typing them in this class so that we can also just see them. One of them is colors.co. This is where I get like inspiration when it comes to colors. And for me, before deciding on a color, let me give you one. Even let me teach you one. Ojoro. Sorry, ojoro in Nigeria means like a crook way or a crooked way. Let me show you something that's not. Maybe it's not ojoro. A lot of us might even know it. What I do from some time is I go to sites where I get my inspiration when I want to build dashboard. I use Pinterest. I use dribble.com. So I can go to dribble.com, for example. I can go to dribble.com. It's triple B. So DRIBBLE. Oh, I don't know why this is not working, but wait, let me just Google. Sometimes when I type it, it doesn't work. Okay, this is dribble.com. Hopefully this one opens. Okay, yeah, it's opening. I make use of either dribble.com or pinterest.com. So these are the 2 sites, but we're going to look at dribble.com. So, excuse me, when I go to dribble.com, I just come here and search for, I might do dashboard. Maybe if I'm building a sales dashboard, for example, I can do sales dashboard. And I'll just search that in the tab. Now, if I'm able to if I see anything, you're going to see different kinds of dashboard here, different kinds. If I see anyone that's sort of like maybe catch my attention, or that I'm actually really impressed with, or I like the color, how the color sits on this thing, immediately I'll just pick that one. Let's say, for example, this color or this dashboard that I have here now is coming up. Let's say, for example, this one here. Maybe I sort of just like the green. I'm a fan of teal green actually. I'm not really a design person, but I have somewhat tried to also figure out a way to combine like colors using inspirations I get online. So let's say maybe this is I like how this one, and I want to use this. I want my reports to sort of get this kind of feel. What I'm going to do is I would right click on it. Okay, this is one is a video. Let me go to the one I can get the image. I'll right click on this and I'll do save image, right? I want to download the image, so I'll do save image, and then I'm just going to call this a let me say sample reports. I'm just going to call this sample reports. I've downloaded this. Okay, so now that I've downloaded this, the next thing I'm going to do is I will go to a site called Adobe color picker from image. So I think is the site is color.adobe.com. Okay, yeah, color.adobe.com. Then I'll just go to this Adobe color picker from image, and I'll select this first one, that color theme from image. This is a tip. Oh, this is my tip I'm sharing with you people, but maybe you already know about it and we're also just learning it together. But it's just a tip for the benefit of those that are very like that are not color this thing. You can see a fine dashboard and just go and pick it and extract the color that was used in building. Sometimes I even see websites and I'm like I'm fascinated by the website, and I just pick those the color from that website and use it to design my dashboard. So the next thing I want to do, when you go to this color.adobe.com and you've selected the color image picker, okay, the next thing you want to sort of do is to click on the you want to select a file. You see extract color from an image and save them as a color palette. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to click on select a file, and then I'll go to my downloads and pick that particular dashboard that I downloaded, which is that sample report, right? Immediately, it's going to pick out all the colors from that dashboard. Now, I have all the colors from this that I can use for my own dashboard. And maybe this is the green I actually like, right? I think this is a teal green or something like that. Something I can do is I can just copy this X code and go and paste it as a theme in my this theme. But that, like, I can use this as the basis. Now that is how to get colors. So I can decide that, okay, I want to use this. And now, how exactly do I go about designing? Depending on what you are going for. For example, you might be going for a one-page report. You might not even need this one I want to mention. But if you are going for like maybe multiple page report, like what we're trying to achieve, you might want to do what we call a landing page, which is what we have here, right? Which is what we have in this place, a landing page. Now, in this landing page, what we're going to be doing is we sort of want to create like a place where this is where our users will first of all land on before they can now go to, maybe if they want to go to the overview page, they can click on overview. If you want to go to vendor page, and just like that. That is what we're trying to do. So the next thing, so for you to get something like this, I always design in either Canva or I use PowerPoint. I know somebody might say this is extra. There are some people that go as far as using Figma to download. So when you see something really exciting online, just know that that person has gone above and beyond to make that report actually what it is, right? So I make use of PowerPoint and I also make use of Canva. So we're going to look about, in this class, I'm going to take you through the Canva, how to use Canva to do something like this. So first thing first, what I do is, since my design, I'm going for a teal green mood, right? I'll go to Canva, which is where I'm on right now, and I'm going to just search for teal green abstract. I'll just do teal green abstract image. and it's going to give me different, like maybe scenario, or different like designs, but this is not even what I want. Let's even use Google this time. Google twist can be a very good this thing. If I do teal green abstract background, okay, I've already typed it before. Good. Now you can see it gives like so many like options, right? That you can actually sort of like pick for. If you pick from, so if I go to the images, I think one place to get all these things are like your Adobe stock, free pick. Yeah, you can see this one is from free pick, right? So you can download all these kind of things. But most times I use Canva. I think what I was able to use, I'm trying to picture the name of the design I was able to use for this particular one that I have here, because I already downloaded, I know I downloaded it off Canva, and I wanted to sort of like show you how I designed all of that so that we'll do the write-up together. Something I'm trying to remember the name. I checked it not long ago. Should have written it down. Okay, I think I know where I will get the name from, by the way. So, from the drive, okay, dark teal, yeah, dark teal. So, what's wrong with my network? Please, can everybody hear me correctly? Okay, dark teal modern business. I think that's what the name of that background is. I think it's a presentation template. I don't know why it's okay. This is it here. Good. I think this is what I used. This is it. Okay, good. Now this is what I used to actually, this is where I got the design that you can see here on my Power BI, right? And if you notice on this one, there's like an icon here that says, there's an icon here that sort of like does a what do I call it? Like something like a manufacturing something supply, whatever. How did I get this? There's a place called flat icons. If you go to flaticon.com, if you go to flaticon.com, this is flaticon.com. You can get whatever icon that you need to use for your design or for your analysis. Sorry, for your design when you're doing your design or your reports design. So now what I just did was I searched for supply chain because it was related to what I'm trying to do, right? Now, once I search for supply chain, it brought in a lot of icon, right? Different things. So you can just look for something maybe related, like something that grabs your attention. I can't even remember the particular one, how I was able to see that particular one. Okay, look at this one now. This one is very, very interesting. That is here. So anyways, I was able to download that and just bring it here. So if you go to every of these things I'm showing you, it's already I've downloaded them and put it in this drive, so you can always see this thing. So I think this is the one I later picked, this supply chain one, which is this, right? The background has already been removed and everything. So I can now go to my Canva, which is this, and first of all I want to delete this, I want to delete this. I'm not going to show you all those, I don't need to go into all those details. I don't think we need that for this, we are not designers, but I just want to show you that it's not magic that I did that. And okay, maybe we should just, we've already started. And then the next thing I just want to do is, I didn't even do anything yet. I think I just downloaded this image and I took it to PowerPoint. And okay, maybe I added the other image here, which is the I added the icon I downloaded, right? And I just put that on this place here. Maybe I was able to even do all those things. Let me see. Supply. Okay, I've seen it. So this supply chain. Excuse me. and I have this here, but I don't want it to be like this because it's drawing too much attention. So what I just did was I reduced the transparency. What I just did is I reduced the transparency and just this thing. Now I mentioned Pinterest, but I didn't even go through Pinterest. If you look at Pinterest, for example, you would notice that you would see a lot of dashboard. Like all you just need to do is click on dashboard or sales dashboard. If I click on sales dashboard, for example, you're also going to see a lot of inspiration. So anyone that look at that same one we saw in this thing, a lot of inspiration. So anyone that grabs your attention, you can just download, go and extract the theme from it on using this color Adobe Picker or something like that, and it would also give you the X code. I'll tell you how to copy that X code and put in your Power BI. So this is what I just did. I just reduced the transparency, right, for this particular visual, and then the next thing I did was to insert a text that actually had okay, I think maybe it's heading or sub heading, I can't really remember because I did it once. And for the heading I just put in that supplier quality. I don't know if it's the same font size, but the idea is to just show you, and performance dashboard. Okay, I want to move this to this side. Okay, good. And maybe move this a little bit up. Now, another thing I added on this dashboard was like the name of the company, right? And I also still put like a description underneath. If we go to this place, you'll notice I did a little write-up here that says what the dashboard is about, like just what this thing. So I also wrote that in Canva, like do the design, and then I added this enterprise manufacturing, whatever, the name of the company. And to do that, all like it's just like simple. You can do this in Canva too, right? Maybe I'm saying this because I'm a little bit design inclined, or I've done this a couple of times, so maybe it might be easy. And like I mentioned, this one is not important though. It's just you want to add. My people will say senrere, like, or Nigerians will say senrere. You want to add a fizzy to your reports, not like maybe it's actually like a part of the analysis, right? It's just design, like when you want to sort of like do design for your reports. And then once you do this, the next thing you want to do is add, I think the icon for the enterprise manufacturer, I got it on flat icons as well, and it's just this enterprise PNG that I have here. So if I go back to my design and try to bring in the enterprise logo. So I just search for it, enterprise, and I bring that in. Good. Okay. So I can bring this one and just make it a little bit smaller and just position that on this place. So what I'm doing might not be very distinct, since I'm just like showing an example. We already have this created, and then the last thing I want to do is the company name, right? I can just do Ctrl C and V of this, but reduce the fonts to maybe 20. Unfortunately, I'll not be able to show how to do this in PowerPoint, but this is also very possible in PowerPoint as well. And then for my title, instead of supplier performance dashboard, what's the name of the company? I think enterprise manufacturers limited. I want to reduce this a bit because it's too big. Good. Let's move this one, and this one. Then I can also move this. So that's here. Okay, beautiful. Now I've been able to sort of like I've been able to create, like, if you look at the dashboard we have, I think it's similar to what I already done here, right? Now this particular one that you see here is what is going to be done in Power BI, but that is how to, if you want to write this one too, you can still do it. But then that is basically how to use Canva to design like an home page for your reports. Like I mentioned, that one is not important. Now let's go into the next detail, or the next thing that is actually important for us to do. Now we want to change our report, or we're trying to format our report, right? Like we have our home page, for example. I've already created it before. That's why I'm not doing this thing. If you were doing this in Canva, the next thing would have been to like share and click on share and sort of like download this thing, right? Now after you have that downloaded, like I mentioned, I've done that design. You can just come here and pick it. I think I did it in PowerPoint. That's why I was able to save it as SVG. Or I think you can also save as SVG on your Canva as well. Okay, this one is my, okay, it's the second page that I designed on PowerPoint. I think so. So what you have here, right? Now let's look at how to design something like this. How I was able to do something like this. So what I just did here was to go to PowerPoint. Mind you, like I mentioned, we can do everything in PowerPoint as well. So I'm just going to open PowerPoint. Okay, this is a different thing that I opened. I think I also put the background, like that's this thing. It's also in the drive. You can have access to that. So here in PowerPoint, let me show you how I was able to create this. So here's what I did. I just created a new slide. So let me just add a new slide here. Let me take it to the last one. Now, new slide, and I inserted an image. And first thing first, I wanted to have on that image is this my background. That's still this image that's without any of this right up, right? So first thing first, I inserted that image. Let me see what I have it stored as. I think landing page. I want to be sure that that is it. Okay. I inserted the picture by going to insert, and I inserted the picture from this device. I'm trying to remember the name. Dark. Okay, no, from downloads. So dark teal. I think this is it. I hope it is the one. Okay, yes. So that particular image that I already downloaded, I just put it here. Then the next thing I did was to insert a shape. And I'm just going to select this one, and I just drew a shape on here. And for the color, I'm going to shift it and make sure that it's in the middle. For the color, I changed it to a plain white background. And then I inserted another shape. And I just placed that one here, and I think I sort of made the sides a little bit curved. I think I did that. And when you're doing that, it's just like in your maybe the design, like the kind of shape that you want, or the shape effect. Don't know if it's a shape effect again, or like the design of the shape. Yes, it's the design of the shape. Okay, so I think I picked this, and I just rotated it. So this is what I picked. I've already selected a new one. Let me delete this one, Control X. Good. So I just selected this, and I sort of rotated this such that it is standing. And good. Now I can do this like this. Now you can see that it has that curved feel. I think the initial ones did have that, or maybe no. Okay, yes, it does. You can see. So now it has that curved feel that the previous ones had. And I can just reduce this, and I can always change the color. If this is not the color I want, I will go to my shape format. This place I have this shape fill. What I just did was I went to that X code that I've extracted right from that image, which is this, and I just copied the one which is maybe this green here, right? And after copying the X code, I came here, and what I did was to just go to that shape fill, and where I have this more fill colors, I will click on it, and this place where it says X, I will just do Control A and copy that X code that I copied from that this, and I'll click on OK. You can see now it's showing that green color, that teal green color that I copied from on there. So that is how I was able to do this, and then I just inserted a line that is going to take the so I inserted one more shape, and the shape I inserted was a line that is going to take my title name. So I can bring this down a bit and just call and put a title here, or maybe on my Power BI, I can come here and put in the title. But if you want, you can also just on this place insert a text by doing insert and doing inserting a text box. So I'll just put that text box here, and I'm going to type overview. I can always increase the size to whatever size I want it to be on my this thing. Maybe I want it to be this 32, and I want it to be bold, and I also want the color to be a different thing. I'll come to my this thing, no, not red, please, the same green as before, and voila, you have your overview page. Now, how do you export this and take it to your Power BI? So if you want to export this, what you just need to do is file, go to your file, do save as. And when you're on save as, you can now you can save the name as however you want to do the name. And then what you are going to do is click on, instead of this PowerPoint presentation, you want to scroll down to where you have SVG, which is this scalable vector graphics, and select that format, right? And then once you do that, you want to click on save. It's going to ask you that you already have a sample one, but because I don't want to replace that sample one I have, I'm going to rename this and call it class, and I'm going to do save. And it's also going to ask you which slides, because you might have 20 slides. So I just want only this one that I just did, right? This one that I'm on. So I'll do just this one. So it's just going to export just this one. Okay, now that is how to export your visual or whatever you've done. Now, how do you take it to Power BI? I want to start cleaning this up now. The first thing I'm going to do is pick my size. Now, when it comes to picking a size, you have to consider your end users. Who am I building this dashboard for? In our case, we are building this dashboard for program management team. Where do you think that program management team will likely use this dashboard, or will likely look at this dashboard? They will probably look at this dashboard on their laptops, on their computers, right? Please, if we are all following, I just want to get a thumbs up and be sure that the session is still on and everybody is still with me. So just give me a reaction, or drop a reaction in the comment section. Let me know if everybody is following. All right, so when you want to consider choosing size, just like I mentioned, the first thing you want to consider is who is my target audience, and where would they be looking at the dashboard. Yes, I know it's just a project, but please always put your end user at the, like, you always want to consider your end users when you are actually building your reports, okay? And in our own case, it's the program management team, and they are going to be looking at it from their computers. And most times, the custom, when you go to the custom visual, the custom actually shows the like that's the laptop screen size. So what I always like to do when it comes to choosing size, I would first of all hide all my pages. So I'm going to hide all my pages. That's all the analysis I've done. So to hide, you just have to right click and do hide, right? So I'm right clicking, hide. I will tell you why I'm doing this. I'm right clicking, do hide, right click, do hide. So my first page is going to be what? My landing page. So for my plant tooltip as well, I'm going to also hide that. So the next thing I want to do is to click on I'm going to just call this one my landing page, because that's what we want to start from, right? My landing page, good. Now I want to pick a size. Now if maybe I don't know the exact size, sometimes you can browse this thing. The regular size, sometimes what I do is the regular size is 16:9, right? If you go to custom, you see the exact height and exact width. Sometimes I just multiply this by 2 or I multiply this by 3. Another one I use is using 900 by 7 on by 17. That one gives you a lot of space and you can do a lot of things. But on other cases, I just try to practicalize. Like I just do a run through. I think in the previous one I used maybe 1650 or something like that. So if I do 1650, I change the height to 1650 and maybe the width to let's say 3000. Now if I want to know that this is actually this would actually be visible on their computer, what I'm going to do is I'll do file, I'm going to do export, I'll do export as PDF. Now, do you know why I hide the other pages? If I'm not hiding those pages, once I do export and export as PDF, I'll not be able to, like, it will export everything, and I don't want that to happen. I'll just sleep here. So now you can see it occupies the entire like my entire screen. This way I know that if somebody views this on their screen, it's not going to be cut off, right? It has exported it as PDF, and if I do full screen, I can see that, oh, this person will be able to see this report on their full screen. Okay, so that is how you'll be able to see like what size or how size, because I think a lot of people also miss it here when they are doing their report. You see some report like is either maybe not very wide, or not very long, or not also tiny, and everything is just jam packed. So you want to consider this when you are actually visualizing. Okay, I'm going to change this view to fit width. Okay, good. Now that we have our size sorted out, I think this one is perfect. We are now going to bring in, first thing first, our supplier quality this thing, but I'm going to duplicate all these pages first of all. So I'm going to duplicate this. This one is going to be my what's the first page? I think my overview. So overview. Okay, and then I will duplicate again so that I just have those sizes. I'll duplicate again. This is going to be for my vendor information. Vendor information, good. And then I can also duplicate this for my plants. Okay, I'll come back to the rest. Let's start with our this thing. Now, the next thing we want to do is bring in our landing page, right? So what I'm going to do is I would go to my visualization and my canvas background. I want to try to bring in that particular visual. Let me see what it's called again, because I don't want to start downloading since I already have it done and also downloaded. Okay, so I think this is our landing page. Okay, good. This is the landing page. Oh, good. Okay, so I'm going to go to my canvas background and I would go to browse, and then I'm just going to search for that particular dashboard, which I'm opening. It's this one, and I will click on open. Now nothing has happened because the transparency is set at 100, so I'll have to reduce the transparency. So I think it's the one. Good. Now we can see our background, right? So what I want to do now is I want to make sure it occupies the entire space. So I'll change the image fit from normal to fit. And there you have it. We have our reports background. Now, why I still have these things showing here is because I've not put in any other like image here or anything here, and I'm going to put that last. But that is how to actually add. Now we have our landing page. So let's move to page 2, which is our overview page, right? And for our overview, we're going to extract like that second page, which is the overview. I think it's overview I called it. So I'm going to do I'll browse to where I have it in my table. I think it's this overview, and I'll click on open. Let me see if it's the one. Okay, it's not the one. Okay, so I'm going to try to save that. I don't know what I stored it as again. So let me just try to extract all of this overview that I've done before. Did I do that in Power BI? Yeah. No, I did not. Okay. So let me extract number 1, and we're going to do file. So let's just do it together. File, save as, and I'm going to call this one my overview. Overview, and I'll save it as an SVG. And I'll do save. Okay, I think it's saved in my documents, that's why. Just this one. I want to just quickly check something, because I think there's a drive where I uploaded everything. Or okay, it's not it. All right. So I'm going to try to bring in that page that I've extracted now, and I'll just go to my browse. I think it's on my documents, and I'll do overview supplier. This is it. And I'll click on open. And then the next thing is I'm just going to reduce the transparency and also do the same thing and make this one fit. And the idea is to just recreate it for everything, right? I don't think this is positioned in the middle, by the way, but it's too late to start looking at that, and it's not very, very important right now. And so we're going to start bringing in our images now. I want us to be fast about like editing and whatever we're doing now. So let's start with number 1. Are we tired? I hope we're not tired. It's a marathon. We still have like 1 hour 30 minutes to go. So we're going to bring in our first visual, which is this, our defects that we calculated, all this information we have here, right? That is what we're going to try to bring in. So let's start with what we have on the top first of all. So like this, I'm going to also copy. Okay, no, I'll just copy everything. Control A and Control C, and I'll take it to my page as my overview page. And then I'm going to do a Control V. Okay, good. Now the next thing I want to just do is, okay, let me move all of all these things down. I'll start editing one after the other. So let's start editing. Now, first one is our first image. So something you can do is sort of, most times I create shapes in PowerPoint to put all these things, but why that might be a bit tricky. Sometimes after you create shapes, you realize that what you want to put inside is not enough. You have to go back to PowerPoint again. So sometimes I just like to create that shape here in my Power BI, right? So what I'm going to do is for the first one, I'm going to insert a shape. So I would insert a shape here and I'll just put this here. And something I'm going to do for this shape is I'll duplicate it, CV. I want it 3 times here and another one here. So just to make sure they are all of the same size and they are properly aligned, I'm going to highlight all 3 of them. And I would go to my properties and make the width uniform. So maybe I would go with 780. Let's see what happens with 780. Okay, maybe 780 is not. So I'm just trying to increase the size. Okay, I think this is okay now. Good. And I would align them such that they have the same space. Alignment is very important when you're building your dashboards. And to align in Power BI, you just need to go to Format, do Align, and distribute it horizontally. You can see now that they have the same space in between them and also very minimal. So something else I'm going to do is for the fill, I'm going to change the color. Like I'm just going to turn that off entirely. I don't want it to put any color. And also for my border, I'll turn it off. Instead of using a border, I'll go to my general, go to effects, and what I want to do is I'm going to add a shadow instead and click on shadow to turn that on. And for the shadow, bottom right is fine. Good. And this is how I want this to look. Now, I'm also going to sort of draw it down a bit. I don't think this space will be enough to contain what I want to put, but if it's maybe if it's not, I'll just have to drag that down. Okay, I think it might be enough. Let's now start putting in our visuals. So the first one is my defect quantity, right? So something I'm going to do here, I want to format this such that the title is also very visible, because if you look at this now, our title is not very visible. So I'm going to come here and change this title. I think the call out value, I'm going to increase that to 50 as well. Maybe it's big enough. I think it's okay. And then I'm just going to go to my title. So for my title, I'm going to increase that to maybe 30. I think this is better. It's not still very visible, but yeah, okay, it's better. It's actually visible. I want to make sure that my call out value is, you want to make sure that people are seeing your call out value. You don't want it, because that's the number that they are most interested in. So I'm just going to increase this to maybe 60. Good. I think this is better. Yes. Now the next thing I want to include is I want to show my for the last month and for the last year, right? Like the progress. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this visual that I have here and good. And I'm going to go and place it on this place, but I would reduce it a bit. You don't want to call too much attention to that in as much as you want to call attention. So I'll go to my call out value and sort of increase and reduce this rather. Okay, good. I think this is okay. It's not so much, but it's also like visible enough. Now, in this particular one I have here, something I'm going to do here is to put a text that says this is the increment versus last month, right? So I'm going to bring in a visual here, or a text box rather, and I'm just going to write versus last month. I'm going to just increase this to maybe, and I would bring this and place that on this place. Okay, good. Now I can also add a space here and this forward slash before I before I move this like this, so that it's okay. I think it's better. Then I'll do the same thing for my last year, right? So what I'm just going to do, I would copy this and I would paste this year. So I'll do a format to copy the filters I already have here. Now, sometimes when you try to select, when you already put your visual on it, it becomes harder, right? So what I always do is I go to my view tab and go to selections. And then once I go to selections, I can easily select what I actually want to do. So in this case, what I'm trying to select is this card visual here, right? That is actually on top. The first one. So most times you can also rename your card so that you know what you are actually picking, but I'm not going to be doing that here. So I'm just going to go to format, paint. So I just want to format that changes on this one, so it just applies for this particular one as well. And then I'll move that so you have that here. You have to be very careful when you're trying to align. Most times I just try to follow the red lines a lot. Like that red lines, they're very helpful when it comes to positioning your visual, right? It's actually very, very helpful. So I'll just move this a bit here, and then I'll bring in another text. So something I can do, I'll just copy this one. Okay, good. I think I've copied it. Let me remove this. So now this one, instead of versus last month, what I want to have here is versus last year. And I'm just going to bring that and place it on top of here. Mind you, this might look really tiny, but it's just because we are, if I do, let me even do that so that you can see my screen very well. So if I do view actual size now, you're going to see the original size of the report, which is what is this. Let me see, cover this one. Which is what is this, right? Which is what, so in case you are not seeing whatever you are trying to edit very well, that is one way to actually see it. I can move this a bit. Good, better. Now this is very so we've been able to add the last month and the last year as well. So we've done visual number one. We can move to the next one, and before we do that, we're going to take a 10 minutes break, and when we come back, we're going to do the last lap of the marathon for, I think we'll not be able to complete it today because there's still a lot. We have over a lot of pages, But let's take a break for now and then we'll continue. Okay, I realized that a lot of persons have dropped off, probably because of the break, or maybe we are actually tired. So I'm going to end the class here so that we don't I think we've had enough. People are tired, and I'm not teaching for myself. I'm actually teaching for people, and I feel like yes, you might watch the recording, but so that we can call it a day today. And if you have enough strength and enough bandwidth, you can try arranging this using like the image that you've seen in the video, right? So start arranging your own if you think you can do that. But by tomorrow, we're going to place all these things on the visual. We've already looked at the major parts. We've done the analysis. We've started visualizing it, and we started arranging everything. So we're going to look at that when we come tomorrow, which is like the concluding part of this marathon. Now, I mentioned that we're going to build four projects, but while I started this first, I didn't imagine, or I didn't think, right, that because of the fact that the people I'm teaching are probably majorly beginners or people that are just trying to, like, get their hands on building projects, and it's going to take a while for me to, pass that knowledge across. I thought it would have been like something that, I can squeeze everything into, but I also don't have a lot of time on my own hands. If not, I'll say, okay, let's do this every weekend, right? And I'm sure everybody's also busy and you have other things that you are doing. If not, I would have said, okay, true though, let's do it every weekend. But because of that, what's going to happen is other of the case studies are going to come pre-recorded. And even from the feedback, some person says they want a pre-recorded class. Why I was avoiding the pre-recording or the pre-recorded classes, because there are a lot of recordings. I can easily pinpoint you to a video that go online, watch this video. But sometimes there are some certain things some certain steps that are being taken that are not being explained properly, and that is why what I was trying to achieve with this particular program. And hopefully tomorrow we're going to complete this one, and other videos they're going to come pre-recorded, but from time to time as the projects go on, or as people are building the project, we're going to host like live classes where we just have people discuss, ask questions, and I take questions like about like some of the concepts in the video. Now, I know I mentioned that this thing is beginner friendly, and trust me, it's beginner friendly. The reason why most of us are finding it hard to follow along is because we don't have the knowledge of we don't have proper knowledge of the basics. We probably just learned Power BI by doing a drag and drop. We didn't learn all the intricacies of Power BI, and I'm grateful that I've actually been able to teach a couple of persons new things. And if you've learned anything new, please just use the feedback form. Let me know what you've learned. What's the new thing you've learned? Let me know what you actually really like. I've placed the feedback form in the comment section. I've also placed the link to the WhatsApp group on the comment section. So in case you have any questions, you can always drop that in the comment section. But we've done a whole lot in this project, and sincerely, I'm proud of myself and I'm proud of you all, because it's not easy to actually learn for this long. Okay, so I'm going to share one last information. The Power BI Bootcamp 8.0, which is my own bootcamp that I teach. What I basically teach in that bootcamp is Power BI. I take you from the beginning. Like, there are several skills you need to know in Power BI, and some of those skills are like your data cleaning, data modeling, DAX, that's data analysis expression, data visualization, as well as business knowledge. And in this bootcamp, I take you through this 5 step, or I explain all the intricacies of this 5 step. And I'm sure a lot of people enjoyed and learned a lot from the data modeling. So we're going to look at the very basics of data modeling in this bootcamp. And if you're interested in signing up, I've dropped the link to the bootcamp on the WhatsApp group. I'm also going to link it in the description of this video. For those that have been asking me that the videos are not downloadable, I'm going to look into that and make sure that it's downloadable. But I'm sure it is actually, and I don't know why it's not downloadable for a couple of persons, but I will look into it. So if you are interested in signing up, there's a 50% discount currently going on, and the 50% discount is going to end by tomorrow evening. So by tomorrow evening, I wanted to open it for just 10 persons, but a lot of persons signified interest. So I'm leaving that open till at the end of tomorrow. So if you're interested in learning Power BI, you can always use that particular this thing to register. It's not compulsory, right? But there are some persons that have reached out that they want to learn Power BI from me. So you get a community, you get to join the Power BI project club as well, where what we're looking to do is build projects, learn a couple of concepts in that particular community. I think by the end of this month, one of our goals is to actually do a revision of the PL 300 exam and prepare people for those that are looking to write the Microsoft Power BI Data Analyst exam. Those are the things that we're looking to do in that community, and you can only be a part of that community actually if you are a Power BI Bootcamp alumni. Thank you everyone for staying up till this moment. We have come to the end of today's session. We are going to continue tomorrow. Okay, we're going to continue tomorrow, and I'm so sorry once more if this is too complex for you. Trust me, you won't get, I don't want to say you won't get this knowledge elsewhere, but I know what I put into this, and these are things that are actually missed out in when you're looking at this, and I don't want people to go through those mistakes I went through, and I want people to be so like job ready. That's one of my goals, that by the end of 2024, a lot of people in the first quarter of 2025, they are saying they got jobs because they built these projects and recruiters saw it and liked it, and that is what I'm hoping to achieve with whatever we are doing. But thank you very much for staying up till now. I'm going to see you tomorrow. I'll also drop the link to registering for that Power BI bootcamp again in the community. If you are not a part of the WhatsApp group, I'll link it in the description of this video. You can always join the group. Thank you everyone. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I'll see you guys same time tomorrow. Bye.